right now. The one, the only, Samuel Amick. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning, Dave. I'm contractually obligated to say that I was doing my hair and getting ready.
Get ready for the show. Slipping on the jacket.
Yep.
His finest suit.
Sam, I didn't plan on asking you this, but somebody brought it up on the text line, and now I'm fascinated by it. So real quick, before we get into tonight's game and all the periphery, what do you think the market is for DeMarcus Cousins next year?
The market, if you will.
Nice.
Man, that's a great question.
Thank you.
I mean, that's just a stall tactic. I don't know.
That's okay. I'm getting the crown anyways.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. I forgot.
That's right.
Are you running around?
No, I'm right here. I'm right here.
All right. Man, I don't know. I mean, it's, certainly highly employable. Not a franchise centerpiece, in my opinion, based on what we've seen. And, so I don't know. I mean, I don't see max money. I don't see, it's a really interesting question.
So no max money, probably no long-term deal because nobody's going to give him what he wants long-term. He's probably going to want a year to prove himself. So are we most likely looking at a 1 or 2 year deal? And then as Jay just said, I've heard this from a couple people. Could we be looking at a 1 year deal on the mid-level exception again?
I mean, I don't know, but maybe not the mid-level. I mean, there's a bunch of teams with a bunch of cap room, and there's just simply, there's like 8 max player slots and not 8 max players. And so, do one of those teams with those, and there's teams with multiple max player slots. I mean, so that's a lot of cash. So does he get his hands on, I mean, maybe it is a 1 year max deal or a 1 year, 18 million, 20 million type thing. But I do think that he's going to have to show what he can do in a different landscape, as either the guy or the number 2 guy. And it's been up and down with these Warriors. He's had some incredible moments that, he can talk about when he's an old man for sure. But it's been up and down at the same time.
Off topic here, but just to answer everybody's questions, from the 916, pilots and co-pilots are advised to not eat the same meal as when they are working. If something's wrong with the meal, like food poisoning, the other pilot will not be affected and can, of course, take over. This isn't an FAA rule, but most airlines have their own rules about it. So I guess that is kind of the airplane rule from the movie, Sam. We were musing about that earlier, where you can't have 2 pilots eat the fish. You know what I'm saying?
I do. Okay. I do. I'm not sure where to take that. I mean,
where to take it.
My buddy and colleague at the Athletic, Ethan Strauss, had some stomach problems recently. So I mean, we should employ the same tactic at our place.
With writers.
What I mean? Yeah, just it's the finals are very important. Don't eat the same food.
Sam Amick of the Athletic joining us. Steve Kerr, we played sound from him earlier. A lot of things have been said about this Kevin Durant injury thing and blame and whose fault is it and are the Warriors culpable and blah blah blah. He said something that I hadn't heard yet that made a big difference to me, which was I don't care what Kevin Durant thinks. I don't care what his agent thinks. I don't care what Steve Kerr thinks. I only care what doctors think. Kerr said that they not only had their staff clear Kevin Durant, but he also got outside medical advice and he was cleared too. For you, does that put that thing to bed?
No, not totally. Okay. I mean, I actually talked to the Warriors yesterday about, and this is beyond the Warriors, it's an NBA thing. Sure. I wish that the NBA would allow us to talk in the media, to talk, to the medical professionals. I feel bad. I know there's HIPAA rules, and I think there's ways around those in terms of, these people are smart enough to know what they can say, what they can't say, what they, can talk about, what they can't talk about. Because what happens is Steve Kerr, man, it's just time and again, and coaches like him, they get put up there and they're supposed to talk about something that they're not experts in. And Steve has stepped in it multiple times during this Kevin situation in terms of describing details of the injury, in terms of characterizing, how long it might be until, Kevin is back. I think there's been some frustration where they, technically the coach is supposed to say that the medical stuff is only, left to the team announcement, but that's just a tough, the fans want to know, like, what's going on. And so, Steve, if you go back, and I wrote this yesterday, kind of chronicle what he said. I mean, it's all over the map. And I think, to be honest, it hurt their team because what happens is the doctors are not sitting there going around the locker room telling all the players, in intimate detail what's going on. A lot of times the players themselves and, Kevin's teammates are reacting to what they see in the media, what the team is putting out there. And I think that had a lot to do with why there was some frustration that he didn't come back earlier, because, they kept kind of having that carrot out there. But to your question, I don't understand. I want to know more about why they were so confident that the injury was going to stay at the calf. I mean, everything I've read is that there's this, my new favorite word, synergistic relationship between the calf and the Achilles. And when the calf is compromised, then the Achilles, are weakened, and the Achilles is compromised. And I don't understand why they didn't seem to be too worried about that.
Golden State, Toronto tonight, Game 6. I'm having a tough time seeing a road for the Warriors to win this one now that the Raptors know Kevin Durant is out for an entire game. I overthinking that. Do you still think the Raptors are the favorite tonight, or do you think we see a Game 7?
I mean, I think they are. I'm a sucker for. I'm too emotionally based in my fiber, rather than analytically based, and so I get caught up in the the last game at Oracle and the championship pedigree with these players, and the idea that this is the memory they want to have is to tell the people of the good people of Oakland that they put them out on a winning note, because it's now, if they lose, obviously, then they will have lost 3 in a row at their old building. And not only that, you've seen all the social media stuff where it's
nicely done.
What, getting through that yawn?
Yes, that was professional, dude. Only I caught that. I don't think anybody else caught it. Keep going. I got you.
But it's like, I'm going to give you the Bert and Ernie laugh. They, the Raptors fans just, they take over the building when their team wins. And it's just surreal. I mean, it's cool from a Raptors standpoint, but it's crazy. I just don't think that's how the Warriors players want it to end on this floor. And if you look at it, you take away the one game that Klay Thompson missed, then we've got an even series. You know what I mean? And firepower is a problem for the Warriors, which is something we never thought we would say. They need a third scorer. I think Iguodala's got to give them 15. I think Quintook's got to hit a couple threes, maybe three threes minimum. They've got to get scoring, and then their defense has been so inconsistent, has got to be there. But I think it'll be a tight game.
I've heard people saying that opting in with the Warriors is the last resort, or a very low on the totem pole for Kevin Durant. I found that interesting. Do you agree with that, Sam?
I mean, I have not talked to his people about that topic. Mm-hmm. So, reporting wise, I don't know. And I don't know why it would be a last option. You know, I mean, it's like, all right, well, I'll take that last option. It sounds pretty good to me.
31.5 million options.
Yes. But I don't know, how he sees that. Now, he's going to have max money waiting for him. I am curious to know, and this is like, it's so sensitive around the Warriors right now that it's tough to ask this type of a question. But, like, I'm really curious, behind the scenes and truthfully, what type of contract they are willing to offer him. I had somebody tell me yesterday they still thought it would be, like, if he wanted the 5-year max, he would get it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's not just the injury, but there's just a lot there. But the Clippers are still going to offer him max. I know that for a fact. I think presumably the Knicks and all these other teams as well. So he's got no money problem. It's just a matter of the fact that it's obviously pretty tragic that he can't play the game for a year.
And I want to philosophize with you for a second. You talked about emotion earlier, so let's take all the logic off the table here. I'm very fascinated by this story because before his injury, you had this, and I'm air quoting here, this snake, this coward, this soft guy who was never a real warrior. It was he was a hired mercenary, an assassin who just kind of was on the periphery. Draymond Green didn't want around, that came in as a hired gun, got them a couple titles, but many thought, and you wrote an article telling them pretty much they were crazy for thinking this, that, hey, the Warriors could do this, and in fact might even be better without Kevin Durant. And it's amazing. maybe not so much in this day and age, but it's amazing that narrative has gone completely on its head. And now all of a sudden, not only is he a Splash Brother, he's a cut above, he's a Warrior, he's one of ours, the heart, the soul, the bravery of Kevin Durant. And what I find myself wondering, Sam, is in a weird roundabout way, is it possible that before that injury, Kevin Durant was absolutely gone? And then injury aside, though, not just for the security purposes, as you just outlined, he's getting money anywhere. Could this have all of a sudden created a road where he voluntarily not only comes back to the Warriors for a year, but spends the next 3 or 4 years there as a welcome addition, as a part of that Warrior fabric that is beloved by Warrior fans? Could we really be looking at that as an end game?
From the fans, for sure, and from some of the people on the team, yes. This is me being old, grumpy, cynical guy. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go down the Jalen Rose road, and I don't know if you saw his commentary the other day, but he had a line where he was, and not to be dramatic because this is a sports injury. Kevin's otherwise healthy in life, but I mean, he said, that when he grew up, his mother taught him that that they'll bring flowers to the funeral, but they won't bring you soup when you're sick. And there's a lot of people bringing flowers right now, and it's some of it just being real between you and I and the wall here, and two buddies. Like it's some of it just it's over the top. It's just because you kind of know the uncomfortableness that was there before, and and then now it feels like they all, I don't know. You get what I'm saying.
I do. The hypocrisy, the changing of gears.
Yeah.
Everybody loved Kevin all along and can't understand why the media and fans would create this narrative, even though they were probably part of the narrative before.
Right. And I'm even I'm trying to be as authentic as possible in my coverage because, I wrote something yesterday about how he deserved better, and I certainly believe that. But it's, but I'm not going to strip away all of the real dynamics that were there before.
Sure.
When it comes to him and the relationship with the team, because, now it's this epiphany that epiphany is the wrong word, but just because of the extremity of the severity of his injury, it's like all that other stuff falls by the wayside and everybody just is on Team KD. That's a little weird.
Sam Amick of The Athletic with us. Let's have fun. I know you're what's deep in coverage of the NBA Finals. Anthony Davis get traded this week, and does Danny Ainge really have the stones to give up his war chest for a guy Rich Paul says has no chance of signing in Boston?
I'm such an immature child. You know what's deep in stones in one sentence, Dave. Good job.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Thanks for noticing.
Yeah, I mean, I think AD. I feel, man, if he's not a Laker, then they need to, contract the Lakers.
Right. Agreed. Huge fan, Sam. You just got a lot of new subscriptions in Sacramento.
I feel like it's right there for them. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I haven't dug too much on it. Yesterday I did text with one of the main principal parties, and he said the Lakers were being, you can probably guess who it is, that the Lakers were not giving in terms of their offer. And I didn't get the specifics, but it, had been reported elsewhere that essentially means they don't want to give up Kyle Kuzma.
Right.
And it's like, come on, man.
Right.
LeBron and AD on the same team, you do that and then you figure out the rest.
Yep.
So they need to get him in a Lakers jersey, and that's the only saving grace for their otherwise dumpster fire, last 18 months. Like everything after they got LeBron, 18 months is too long, but you know what I mean. The Boston thing is just crazy to me because they really are. The idea that they are fearlessly moving forward with this pursuit, I really do think it's super dangerous because even though some of these other teams have, had success in going after a guy who didn't necessarily want to be there, the Thunder with Paul George and the Raptors with Kawhi Leonard, it's a good story to tell to say that's the new way of the NBA. But I feel like with Boston, I'm not necessarily sure it's going to turn out that same way. because even if the Raptors lose Kawhi, they've accomplished so much. It's probably already a success story. But with Boston, if you're going to lose Kyrie and then AD's not going to want to be there without Kyrie, I just don't know why you give up the war chest, as you called it, with Jason Tatum and all those other pieces. So I don't know. We'll see, but it feels like AD will have a Lakers jersey on at some point here.
The other day, I took my daughter to the doctor to get some booster shots, and then on the way home, we stopped by a frozen yogurt place. Froyo, as the kids say, and we each got actually small, not even a medium. We actually got small cups with just one topping on both. The total for that, before tax, was more expensive than a 1-month subscription to The Athletic. Think about that for a second. You can go to The Athletic and read wonderful writers like Sam Amick and the gastrically distressed Ethan Strauss and so many more. And I'll do all that for less than the price of a couple of Froyos, Sam. I think that's a pretty good deal.
Thanks, buddy. You're my Froyo. I need to contract. Froyo, bro. I don't know what that means.
Well, I appreciate you. I will be your brother in Froyo, and I appreciate. In fact, we'll put that out there later. You don't mind if I tweet that, right? The Athletic, Sam Amick. The Lakers need to retract. I feel like that's an accurate
Contract
is a very different thing.
What'd I say?
Retract.
You said retract.
Yes, their entire history. Retract the whole thing. They never won a title.
They need to contract the
You're
Lakers.
Take care,
I don't
buddy.
know. Aggregate the hell out of me and make my phone blow up. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, buddy. Bye. That's
Sam Amick reports the Lakers are being contracted.
You're listening to The Drive.